All right, talking about sleeping bags today. I've got 3 different versions of sleeping bags and a quilt here. Again, what got me started with camping was kind of in my adult years was a spring break trip out to Moab over spring break. We went out to Moab, Arizona, New Mexico, and I didn't really have any equipment. Borrowed some stuff from the people I went with, and just kind of liked it. Started equipping myself from that point on. What I borrowed was essentially a Target bag, something like that. Not any kind of tech gear or anything like that. Froze my ass off one night sleeping outside in New Mexico, and decided I needed to get a legit sleeping bag. What I started with, like most of my equipment, started off getting the REI brand. Again, I generally like REI's stock equipment. It's good quality. It's not the smallest. It's not the lightest. It doesn't have the most features, but it's solid quality equipment that'll last and isn't going to break down on you. But then you're obviously giving up some features of more expensive gear. Very affordable. This first one I got, and when I was looking at this, I haven't used this in a long time. I was kind of thinking this wasn't the stuff sack, and this was just what I stored it in, but this is actually the stuff sack. So this is it. Feels like it's not can, it's a nylon bag. So, again, we're not talking light. It does compress a little bit. I think when I've used this in the past, I put some compression straps on it or some kind of compression sack, put it in a compression sack before and kind of packed it down a little bit more to try and get it to take up a little less space. But it is a pretty bulky item. Not a lot going on as far as features go. It's just got the zip. It's an exposed zipper as you go around up here. It does have the double-sided zipper, or the two toggles on the zipper there, which allows you to kind of get at it on the inside, from the inside of your bag when you're all zipped up. It does have a little neck guard going around here, which helps keep you a little bit warm. And the head kind of tucks away in a nice little hood up there. So when you're in it fully zipped up, you are in a mummy bag. It's also got a little loop up here on top for hanging and stuff. But you're fully covered up. You're warm. I've used this for winter camping, but we were kind of in a hot tent, so I want to say this kept me warm. Probably down to, it had to have been 0. So I don't know if it was my only bag. I think I might have brought an extra bag with me as well. And I didn't use this alone, but on kind of some of the warmer nights where maybe we're in single digits in our hot tent, it served pretty well for that, and kept me warm. I wouldn't use this any lower than like maybe 30 degrees. I think I've gone down with just this as low as 30 with it. And then, like I said, in that tent where we did have a stove, obviously it wasn't going all night, but I think I did have something else with me as kind of a second layer, so to speak. I think I had another sleeping bag with me to kind of wrap around or at least lay on top of and use as some insulation. This is a synthetic bag, so one of the reasons it doesn't pack quite as small. But it is a pretty good bag overall. If you're looking to start out, like I've said in other videos, I do recommend just getting REI stuff. It is pretty good quality, and it's a good place. It's a good starting point until you figure out what kind of camping you're going to do and what you really need. So speaking of winter camping, going into a trip where the forecast, it was going to be really cold. We're double-digit negative temperatures. I knew this wasn't going to cut it, and so I just needed a new bag. I went out and purchased a Marmot bag, Marmot Down. This is the Never Summer 0 degree bag. So, and most likely it's a long and wide. I'm 6'5", so I tend to get stuff that is on the bigger side for me. Now you can see it packs a little bit smaller. It is able to be compressed a little bit more, again with some compression straps if you're backpacking. You can squeeze this down into a little smaller space, or be able to fit it into a little smaller space. And this bag has a lot of upgrades, obviously. Price on that couldn't have been any more than $100. I honestly don't remember. It was in the mid-90s when I bought that. So I would say that was no more than $100 with that REI bag. This one, looking it up, it looked like they were out of stock everywhere I was looking, but it does look like they still make this bag. I probably bought this in 2008, 2009, somewhere in that range, would be my guess. And this is in the range of $300 for this this particular model. Now, this is a duck down 650 fill, I believe it is, and it's got your features that you're going to see on the colder weather type of bags, with your baffle up here by the head, if we can find this. Kind of got your face baffle. And when you are, it's got drawstrings up here to kind of draw this hood in around your face. But when you're here, because of this double baffle here, it does kind of keep it away from your face. So it doesn't condense, you don't get that condensation quite as much. It is there on the really cold nights. You don't quite get that as much of that because it does keep that bag away from your face. It gives you some clear air to breathe. I hate mummy bags, personally. I don't like sleeping super tight. But when it's really cold out, the coldest I got down to in this was -40. And again, I think I used these two bags in conjunction for that particular night, but most nights when I'm using this, I'm really warm. -40 with that other bag, I believe I had that bag, and then that was inside this bag. I was kind of just not warm. I wasn't cold, but I just wasn't 100% warm. But this works great. It's a great winter bag. It's great. It's kind of iffy when it depends on the weather that you get, the temperatures that you get for spring, summer. A lot of times I just sleep in this open, put one foot in here in the foot box, cover myself with it, use it like a quilt, and have one leg hanging out. It's really warm. I used this Glacier this summer in Grand Tetons, and it was a great bag for that. It was definitely the warmth I needed at night, but I still used it as just a quilt. I didn't zip it up ever, because I kind of like to sprawl when I sleep a little bit. So there's also a nice little zipper pocket up here. I don't know, see if I have anything in here now. Usually I keep a pair of earplugs in there in case somebody you're with snores or such. But you can keep whatever in here. It's a pretty decent sized pocket. You can kind of see how far my hand fits in. You could fit your headlamp in there. You could fit, whatever you need at night. If your glasses were small enough, you could maybe fit a contact case in there, maybe a small pair of glasses. You're kind of stuck sleeping in that coffin position on your back for the most part anyway, so it's not like you're going to roll over on them and break them. You could also have those glasses in the case. But it is a very, very warm bag. I think it's, like I said, 650 goose down, 650 fill goose or duck down, treated, so it's able to get wet and still kind of retain some of its loft and everything. It's works pretty well for that. When I winter camped, again, we do hot camping, so that means we have a stove in a canvas tent, and basically I've dried this out. We crank the heat up on the stove and just hang these up, and it'll dry out any condensation that's kind of occurred overnight. I'm a pretty hot sleeper, so there's usually a lot of condensation that's going to be happening. So you got to be kind of careful with that with winter camping. That's why I kind of prefer the hot tenting to a certain degree. If I'm going to cold camp, just usually keep those nights a little bit, or those trips a little bit shorter. We were out in the woods for maybe like 5 days, something like that. So we spent, a few nights out there and there, but we did have the capability of kind of drying our stuff out. So I do like this bag. Highly recommend it. The Marmot Never Summer 0 degree bag. Good bag, durable. I've had this easily for probably 5 years. So it's still going really strong, and still gets used quite a bit. Like I said, though, it is a mummy bag. I don't like that kind of coffin feel to it. So what I just purchased, and I'm pretty excited about, is my Enlightened Equipment Revelation bag. This comes in at about 3.5 pounds, the down bag. This comes in at, I think this particular model, the Revelation, is 22.5 ounces, which is about like 1.4 pounds. So much lighter, much smaller. It's got a sill nylon stuff sack versus just your standard nylon one, even with the Marmot. I'm going to use this probably as an underquilt for hammocking in colder temperatures. I'm going to use this as just a standard quilt for all my other backpacking and more in the summer, because if I'm sleeping under a tarp, if I'm sleeping in a tent, whatever, I want that kind of blanket feel where my feet are kind of out a little bit more, and I have that kind of more temperature regulation, and I've got a little more room to kind of spread out. I'm not a big fan of being confined. So, love this thing so far. Have yet to bring it out into the field to test it. But this came up on Massdrop for me. I think it's a little different, maybe than it's a different. Something was different about it if I read the comments correctly, but it was kind of a one-off thing they did to kind of try it out. I think the material's a little thinner than their typical one, but other than that, everything is the same for it. Now, I got the long, wide. I think in an ideal situation, especially if I was going to use it as, and kind of button it up and zip up at the bottom here to create the foot box. If I was going to use it as a sleeping bag, I would need the extra long, extra wide, but that wasn't available when I got in on this. So I got it on Massdrop for $220, $230, something like that. It's not too far off what the regular cost was, but it was just enough to for me to pull the trigger and finally buy one. Now this is an 800 fill goose down, and it has little buckles here on the side. It has kind of buckle zippers and snaps if you want to create this foot box. These snap together here. I think I actually just put this inside out the way that zipper's facing, but you get the idea. So buttons up, and then there's a little drawstring here to kind of create that foot box. Snap together, hold it in place. Tighten that up as much as you want, and you've got kind of a sleeping bag going on here. Now, like I said, I'm probably going to use this as an underquilt when it's colder. It's got little attachments here for some shock cord. Put that in there. I can attach that to my hammock and kind of use it as an underquilt, and use that drawstring up on top again to kind of form it up around the ends of the hammock. Kind of bunch it up and hold it and have it kind of form it around me in the hammock. There's also some cords that come along with it, or not cords, but some straps that you can snap into place and kind of hold it up and around your hammock. That would be kind of something I could see this being used for. There's two of them here, and they are adjustable. And this one isn't fully adjusted. All right, that's the issue. So again, that goes here. And that can just kind of help cinch it up around your hammock a little bit more. Put it in the right side so it snaps into place. Kind of hold everything into place and adjust it to whatever length you need. So I'm pretty excited about this. This is going to be more than adequate for all the camping that I do. Almost all the camping that I do. Boundary waters, backpacking, whatever. This is going to be great. And on winter camping, I'm also going to bring this in conjunction with that, and that can be kind of my extra layer to kind of throw over the top of myself as the temperature dictates. So these are kind of that's my progression as far as sleeping bags go. And you know, you don't kind of in review. Started out with something cheap that worked more than adequately for me, and it has lasted going on 20 years now, I think is how old that is. Maybe not, closer to 20 than it is to 15 for sure. Great bag, bulky, a lot heavier, and as my camping has adapted, I've, purchased the equipment that kind of suits what kind of camping I'm doing, what kind of camping I enjoy, what my sleeping style is. And like I said, for me personally, I don't like to be constricted. I'm a pretty hot sleeper, so I don't need tons. I don't need to be super, super warm at night, as much as some other people do. I tend to have that temperature regulation of one leg sticking out to kind of cool me off, while the other one's hot underneath, and work that balance. So for me, having a quilt, I think, is the ideal situation for me. And whether the fact that it happens to be light and compact just is a bonus for me. But this is kind of what I've been looking for, what I've been kind of holding out for a long time. And it came on that mass drop offer, and that was what made me pull the trigger. Even though it's long and wide instead of extra long, extra wide, I think it's still going to work out really well, even though, like I said, if I do sleeping bag it up, it is pretty tight on the shoulders. It's going to be a tight sleep. In an emergency, I guess I can put up with it if I have to, but I don't really plan on using it as a sleeping bag too often. So that's my bag. Those are my bags, and hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.